It is a beautiful day here in Jacksonville, Florida. Temperature at 70 degrees. The wind could be an issue today. Right now to the northeast, 10 to 20 miles per hour. Definitely you can feel the wind here inside the stadium as we get set for kickoff in this game that will determine who will be in first place in the AFC South. We mentioned already the Titans losing to the Chargers in London. So the winner of this game between Bill O'Brien's Texans and Doug Marrone's Jaguars will take over first place in the AFC South. Houston won the toss and they have elected to defer. So Jacksonville will get the football first.
You know, Andrew, normally when you have a divisional opponent, you know them really well, what they like to do, their tendencies. For Jacksonville offensively, we've talked about all the injuries that they've had on offense. They may do some things differently today that catch the Texans off guard, but the Texans can't hesitate. They have to be as aggressive and attack offensively, but they're going to see some formations, I believe, that they don't normally see from the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Neither of the two games between these two teams last year was close. Jacksonville blew out the Texans, as you saw, outscoring them 74-14 in two games. And already you're seeing the impact of the wind with the ball falling off the tee. So Kaimi Fairbairn will tee it up again. A mulligan here to start the game.
Yeah, you used a lot of those the last time we went out and played 18.
You went there, huh?
One per hole was an interesting concept.
Underway, week 7 of the NFL on CBS. It's a touchback, and Blake Bortles will lead the Jacksonville offense out onto the field, coming off a very disappointing performance a week ago in Dallas, a season low 149 yards passing. However, here at home, Bortles has been very good of late. He's won 7 of his last 8 here in Jacksonville. There's J.J. Watt, tied for second in the NFL with 7 sacks on the season. On first down, T.J. Yeldon. And Yeldon takes it out to the 30-yard line as we take a look at the Jacksonville starting offense. And once again, Josh Walker will start at left tackle. He is the 3rd left tackle under offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett. And as we mentioned in our open, Carlos Hyde inactive. There was some outside hope that after making the trade on Friday that he could have been ready today. He went through walkthrough yesterday, but Hyde is not playing as Yeldon is hit hard by Zach Cunningham, and it brings up 3rd down and short.
I had spoken with Tyrone Wheatley, the running back coach, and he said he was smart enough to play. But, you know, let's be fair to the guy. He just got off the plane. Let's give him a chance to get acclimated, to get an entire week of practice in.
There's Hyde and Fournette as well on the left. Neither one able to go today. Andre Howe back at safety. What a story he is for the Texans. His cancer now in remission and making his season debut. 3rd down and 4. Bortles with time. Bortles now is going to step up and keep it, and he falls forward with the ball coming free. Ball is loose. Texans indicating they have it, and they do. Blake Bortles with his 10th turnover of the season, and Houston takes over in prime position here early in the first quarter.
Protection was exquisite. Blake Bortles had time to look to the left, look to the right. All turnovers are reviewed, so we're going to take a look at this, see if that ball comes out before his elbow touches the ground. But Blake Bortles had time in the pocket. But when he started to scramble, there was a spy, a defender, still there in the way. So Blake Bortles couldn't get past that first defender. He did, and when he dove forward, ball comes loose.
It looked like Brandon Linder, his center, actually knocked the football loose, and then Jadeveon Clowney recovered for the Texans, who take over at the Jacksonville 36-yard line. Watson looking to throw on first down right to DeAndre Hopkins. And A.J. Boye on the tackle. A gain of 5 for Hopkins.
Might have been Will Fuller, single receiver over there on the right side.
Fuller caught that. Correct. Will Fuller, who only had 2 catches last week in the win over the Bills. It's a handoff. Lamar Miller runs into his own man and is able to get to the 28-yard line. Miles Jack on the tackle. Deshaun Watson last week, tough go. He was injured, we know that. Threw for a touchdown, but 2 interceptions, and he lost a fumble in the win over the Bills. He is the most sacked quarterback in the NFL. 25 times he's been brought down.
And you mentioned about he's lost 2 fumbles this year, but he's put the ball on the ground 7 times. So he is a runner who is very dangerous when he runs, but also he's got to just remember, take care of the football.
Doug Marrone just called timeout before that 3rd and 2 play. So Marrone didn't like what he saw from the defense and uses his first timeout early here in the first half.
And almost every coach, when you call timeout because you kind of have them out personnel on the field and they don't have the right personnel matchup, if they call timeout, you'll change your personnel the next play anyways, because you don't want them to think, oh, they're not going to change, they're going to do the same thing. As soon as they did that, there's a mass substitution for the Texans. They brought in some new players. So, you know, it's always a little chess match, and these 2 coaches know each other so well. They have great backgrounds together. They know what the other one likes to do in a lot of different situations.
Coached together at Georgia Tech in the late 90s. Marrone and O'Brien have a long friendship. On 3rd and 2, Watson rolling out, chased by Fowler, and Deshaun Watson has the first down. Sliding down at the 23.
And Deshaun Watson told us, you know, with his injuries that he's had the last couple of weeks, which started against the Dallas Cowboys, we saw the big hits that he took in that Cowboy game. They lingered into last week. They didn't have design runs for him. That one, yes, it's a pass play, but the second option is to run. And the first option for Deshaun Watson, smartly, was to get down.
Only had 2 carries for 2 yards last week against Buffalo. Watson with time, throwing incomplete, was looking for Kiki QT, and it's 2nd down and 10. The Jaguars defensively, Calais Campbell was a question mark today with a hip injury, but he is active and starting up front. His 65th consecutive start, 3rd longest active streak by defensive end under defensive coordinator Todd Wash.
And I remember when we talked to Marrone, he was about to go in and get an MRI because they wanted to make sure that there was nothing structurally wrong, because he's tough enough to play through it, but you don't want somebody to injure themselves if there's a problem that they could have.
And it's Lamar Miller, and Miller inside the 20-yard line. Tackle made by Calais Campbell after a gain of 6. So now the Texans in the red zone. That's been a huge problem this year. 2nd worst in the NFL in touchdown percentage. Only the Jets have come up with a worse percentage. Last week they were 1 of 4 scoring touchdowns in the red zone.
And when I look at that 34.6 number, I said, well, what's really, really good? The Cincinnati Bengals, 75% of the time they're in the red zone, they get touchdowns. So that 34%, long way from the league top of 75% in the Bengals.
It's 3rd down and 4. Pressure coming from Ngakoue, and Fowler wraps up Watson. Ngakoue coming from the outside, Fowler penetrating up the middle, and that's the 26th time this year that Deshaun Watson has been sacked.
If you were just a novice and you listen to just guys who like fantasy football, you'd hear about the Jacksonville Jaguars and this defense that came from Seattle, where they like to play a lot of zone. They play man-to-man. They were playing man-to-man there, and they latch on people as they pass them off. And you saw Deshaun Watson kind of pump that ball once. The second time he was ready to pump it, the pressure was there.
First sack for Fowler since week 2 against the Patriots. Now Fairbairn for a field goal of 44 yards, and it is good. So the Texans strike first off the turnover. Bortles fumbles, and Fairbairn puts 3 on the board for Houston. Tonight, Texans lead the Jaguars 3-0. And don't forget tonight on CBS, don't miss the new drama that everyone is talking about. God Friended Me tonight after 60 minutes, only CBS. So the Jaguars now -10 turnover ratio. Only the 49ers are worse at -11. Early turnover here by Blake Bortles, and the Texans capitalized by putting 3 on the board. And it's another touchback for Fairbairn. Well, Jaguars again playing from behind early, and take a look at this. Weeks 1 through 4, third most time they led in the NFL. They only trailed for about 30 minutes, but since then they've been playing from behind a lot. In fact, they have not had a lead in their last 2 games.
All this on this side is bad pie. That's bad pie on that side.
So the offense goes back to work. 1st and 10 from the 25-yard line. And TJ Yeldon for a couple. We met with Nathaniel Hackett on Friday, the offensive coordinator, and he said that this is the most unique situation he's faced in his entire career when talking about all the injuries on the offensive side of the football. And he said, we're going to try a lot of different things today and kind of feel it out as they go.
380.
It's Yeldon again, and Yeldon lowers his shoulder to the 33-yard line. It's going to be a 2 yards shy of a first down.
And you talked about unique things. One of those things just occurred. He's jogging off the field now, but number 69, Shatley, lined up at tight end as an eligible player with an ineligible number. And because that play broke to the backside, his backside block is where the hole was. You know, you would like to run to the left, but you're going to weave it back to the right. And if he can hold up against the J.J. Watt, against the Clowney, a lot better than the young tight ends can.
3rd and 2 with D.D. Westbrook in motion. Bortles, pressure coming. Bortles gets rid of it and completes it. It's a first down and more for Dante Moncrief. Forced out of bounds by Jonathan Joseph, but Moncrief with a 24-yard pickup.
It was so interesting when we met with Kareem Jackson yesterday. We talked about this crossing route, the crossing patterns that the Jacksonville Jaguars love to do on 3rd and 3 to 4. He said, we want to come up and be able to make the tackle. That time, the defender got caught in the wash trying to get through all the rub routes that were being run.
Moncrief did not have a catch last week in Dallas. Jamal Charles with his first carry, and he picks up 2 yards in his second game with Jacksonville. Had 6 touches last week. Now at the age of 31.
When Jamal Charles was 22, 23 years old, he was in that conversation. Is he the fastest player in the league? So even at 31, I guess he's wearing that because his age, you don't lose a ton of speed. He just needs to get a chance to get out in the open to show it.
Bortles, quick pass to Yeldon at the backfield, and Yeldon shoved out by Cunningham. A 4-yard gain for TJ Yeldon, who already has 3 receiving touchdowns this season. Continues to be the workhorse back in the absence of Leonard Fournette.
You go back to the turnover, and that was the one play where Blake Bortles could not find his first read to throw to. You look at all these other throws, short, crisp, on time. You don't want to have to pull the ball down when you have J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney on the outside.
On 3rd and 4, Bortles over the middle, incomplete, off the hands of Keelan Cole.
That's just a small difference between I'm going to hook up in the zone and I want you to move a little to your right. See him leading him with this ball, and you see Cole trying to stop his body to reach out because he realizes I'm in that soft spot in the zone. Put the ball on my numbers.
14th drop of the year by Jacksonville. That's the most in the NFL. 4th and 4. And punting is Logan Cook. With Tyler Irvin back deep, too much on this one for Cook, and it's a touchback. 7:25 to go first quarter. Texans 3, Jaguars nothing.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by State Farm. Here to help life go right. Verizon, the best unlimited is on Verizon, America's most awarded network. And by the all-new 2019 Kia Forte.
Jaguars mascot Jackson DeVille wearing a camera for his plunge into the stadium before the game. adventurous mascot here.
You know that big lottery jackpot? I'd do that if I could get guaranteed that.
Watson on first down. Pressure coming. Ngakoue back there. Watson stays on his feet. And now he'll run with some room to run and out of bounds. How did Watson stay up?
Deshaun Watson came into the game, sacked 25 times, more than any quarterback, hit more than any quarterback. And it all starts there at the left tackle position. That's just a complete whiff. And I don't know how Deshaun Watson, I don't know if he felt him, if he could hear him breathing down his neck, but he was able to step away and avoid the sack on that play and pick up a couple of yards.
Ngakoue had a great chance, could not bring him down. A 3-yard gain at 2nd and 7. And not much doing there on the ground for the Texans with Lamar Miller. But James, clearly early, we're seeing Deshaun Watson is a lot more mobile than he was last week.
He's mobile, but I also like what he's doing at the tail end of the plays. He slid, he ran out of bounds. Those are the things you have to do. I hate to say it if you want to be a 12-year quarterback, and he's only in his 13th game overall in his entire career.
3rd down and 5 from the 25-yard line. Crowd making some noise here in Jacksonville.
Here's a matchup that you spent your money on, Ramsey against DeAndre Hopkins.
Watson's looking that way, taking a shot for Hopkins. What a catch! Hopkins with one hand. Bring your popcorn for this matchup. And early on, the advantage goes to Hopkins, a 31-yard gain.
And Jalen Ramsey super frustrated because he's battling the right arm of DeAndre Hopkins. He's trying to impede him a little bit. Their arms are locked up. And yes, maybe DeAndre Hopkins muscles him a little bit, but he's so strong with even just one hand. I mean, that's about as sweet as it can get. And Watson knows one-on-one, that's a great matchup.
Now on the ground, and for the Texans, it's Miller again. Tackle made by Deshaun Gibson. We met with DeAndre Hopkins last night, and he said he loves this matchup against Jalen Ramsey because Ramsey's so competitive. And he said it's kind of this thing out there, these two guys don't like each other. Hopkins said it's not true. A lot more is made of it. They've texted. It's just a healthy rivalry between the two. And Miller again, spinning across the 35-yard line.
You know, it's interesting because both these players, Hopkins and Jalen Ramsey, have been Pro Bowlers. So I thought maybe at the Pro Bowl they got to be friends and you like each other, and then you don't like each other when the season's over. Well, the Pro Bowl that they both made together, DeAndre Hopkins didn't play in. So they never got to get that little bond going together.
That was good enough for a first down. So on 1st and 10, Watson firing right, and it is caught. It's Fuller with a flag down. Gary Church makes the tackle after a gain of 20. Will it stand?
Yeah, it looks like they got Fuller for offensive pass interference.
Pass interference. Offense, number 15. 10-yard penalty. We play first down.
Which I think is very odd for Fuller, but I think it's a really nice play by A.J. Boye, because a little bit of it, when you're playing press coverage and you're running shoulder to shoulder with a guy, if you can feel him when he's going to come out of that break, when he starts to decelerate just a little bit, you latch onto him. And at that point, a lot of receivers, not that they're taught by this, they'll use that one arm to kind of just push off ever so slightly. And if they extend that arm and it's sticking out, you're going to get called for offensive pass interference.
That's a big penalty. Wipes out the 20-yard gain and pushes Houston back to the 44-yard line. Ngakoue coming again. Watson gets rid of it. Ngakoue is having his way early in this game against that Houston offensive line.
And the tough thing, when you are a four-man rush team, sure, you can leave a back over there and you can chip and do all that. But what happens when you do that, you get what you call a hug pressure, where the linebacker who's assigned to that back, or the tight end who's staying in, he's going to also rush. And that guy's in helping to block, and all of a sudden there's a big gap inside and a free runner at your quarterback.
It's been Ngakoue against Julian Davenport, who really struggled last week against Buffalo. And here comes Ngakoue again. A screen pass is complete, but not much there. And Houston has a big problem right now at left tackle as Ngakoue is just running past Julian Davenport.
And when you're the left tackle and you're supposed to block on a screen, it's 1, 2, I block my guy. Not let him swim directly inside of you. He beats him inside so fast that he throws the timing of the screen off. Watson has to get rid of the ball early. You saw the running back run into his offensive lineman because there was no separation between the two. So not only is Ngakoue getting there on regular pass downs, he's disrupting screens that you try and throw to slow down the pass rush.
Davenport allowed 2.5 sacks last week on 3rd and long. Texans just run it, and Lamar Miller does a nice job on that run. A gain of 16 to bring Houston into field goal range. And out comes Fairbairn to attempt another.
When your greatest strength is rushing the passer and you even know it's a draw, you try and play a little softer. But that time, nice job by the Texans offensive line, getting a body on a body and allowing Miller, the running back, to kind of pick and weave his way into field goal range. And I was on the field before the game. The wind is blowing at the back of Fairbairn here, so this should be almost a chip shot.
47-yard attempt for Fairbairn with the wind, and he is good. So that 3rd down run by Miller leads to another field goal for the Texans. 6-0 Houston right here on CBS. DeAndre Hopkins made a highlight reel catch on that last drive, and the drive culminated with another field goal by Fairbairn, who's set to kick it away.
But did you see him with the tablet? He wanted to go over and show the official, look, he was holding me on that play. I mean, he looked at it and said, he's holding me, but we get so used to one-handed catches that they are spectacular, and his was.
And now out comes Blake Bortles, who's only thrown 3 passes here in the first quarter. First 2 possessions, the fumble and then the punt. So Jacksonville trying to get something going with so many players injured on the offensive side of the football. It's not an excuse. The Jaguars aren't going to sit there and say, well, we got these guys injured, but they still are trying to find their identity here. They were built as a power-running football team behind Leonard Fournette and the left tackle Cam Robinson. And well, that team is not here anymore with Fournette sidelined again. Robinson out for the year with a torn ACL. Yeldon on 1st down. And it's Clowney who brings him down, a gain of 1. A look at the offensive injuries with Fournette out today. He's only played 45 snaps this season. And then they lose their 2 tight ends, Safarian Jenkins and Paul. And it's okay, we got James O'Shaughnessy. He gets a hip injury and he can't play today. So the shorthanded Jags trying to adjust here in week 7. Tyler Shatley out again as the eligible tight end. Yeldon. And Clowney again able to bring him down. It's 3rd down.
Yeldon made that last cut about 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage so that he didn't get stopped for a loss. So when you start to talk about trying to win the line of scrimmage, trying to push the other people back, the Houston Texans are a great penetrating team. J.J. Watt says he has his hands on his hips. He's diagnosing the formation, who they bring over this side. By the time he puts his hand down, it's business time right there.
3rd down and 7. Bortles dropped again by Keelan Cole, and he hears the boos. His 2nd drop of the quarter. He had 2 drops the entire season coming into today.
And we're talking about a young man who is very sure-handed, one of those undrafted free agents, tiny school, comes here last year, makes the team. Remember, he had a spectacular one-handed catch early in the season, so these little drops underneath, uncharacteristic of Keelan Cole, but they've happened, and they've stopped 2 drives back-to-back.
So out comes the rookie Logan Cook again, punting to Tyler Ervin. Good punt by Cook. Ervin. And it goes out of bounds inside the 20. A 54-yard boot for Cook. Watson ready to return to the field in a moment.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by FedEx. Possibilities, what we deliver by delivery. And by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Halloween right around the corner. Pumpkin picking, always a big part of the fall. As we welcome you back to Jacksonville, and the Texans, with field goals on each of their first 2 drives, have a 6-0 lead over Jacksonville. Alfred Blue in at running back. And Watson will keep it. Looking to throw. Now on the run. Watson fires, and along the sideline, that is a incomplete pass. QT could not hold on.
When you're trying to go deep against Jalen Ramsey, you got to throw some pretty good moves on him, because he can run as well as any wide receiver around the league. You back up, you give some space underneath, you deep third, pass it off to the safety. So nice communication there. You see the zone coverage concepts, but you still want to latch onto these guys when they come into your zone. Good job by the Jaguars.
Final minute of the first quarter. It's Blue, his first carry today, and Blue to the 22-yard line. Miles Jack in on the tackle after a gain of 4.
It's interesting, last year when the Jacksonville Jaguars, they were playing pretty well early this season, but then they picked up Marcel Darius. And when he came in from the Buffalo Bills, they made the statement. It's up to tell the player, this is why you're here. You're going to help the run defense. It's not, we hope you help it, we think you can. You're going to help the run defense. And he really has. He's been solid as a run defender.
3rd down and 6.
A lot of folks along that offensive line.
Watson taking a shot. Fuller's got it. Great grab by Will Fuller, and that's a 1st down for Houston, a gain of 18.
When Will Fuller has a free release, and here he gets off the line of scrimmage really well, and that little stick move to the inside, you've got to respect. When a guy is that fast, you've got to almost anticipate where he's going to go. Trying to do that, you get lost in the wash.
End of the first quarter, Texans lead the Jaguars 6-0. Tennessee lost earlier this morning in London, so the winner of this one between Bill O'Brien and Doug Marrone will take over sole possession of first place in the AFC South. Started the second quarter with the Hall of Famer James Lofton. I'm Andrew Catalan. Texans with 2 field goals have a 6-0 lead. And Houston will start the quarter 1st and 10 at the 41-yard line. We're going to hear from the referee, Ron Torber.
Ball start. Offense, number 75. 5-yard penalty. It's 1st down.
It's on Martinez Rankin, who's been mixing in here early in the game.
Yeah, he had come in as an eligible receiver at that tight end position, wearing the number 75, obviously. And you have a play cooked up that's going to work perfectly. A little play action, maybe something where you're going to get the ball one-on-one to Hopkins. And he falls offside.
League-leading 15th false start of the season against the Texans. On 1st and 15, Watson up the middle, and Watson dives to the 40-yard line. A gain of 4 for Deshaun Watson. Again, that's something he did not do last week.
But even with the dive at the end of this play, he's not straight upright, because a quarterback is protected whether he goes feet first or whether he dives head first. You're supposed to lay off of him. Miles Jack in our meeting said, we're going to hit him hard the first time to make sure that he slides.
On 2nd and 11, quick pass to QT. And Calais Campbell with the hit. So we're going to go back to New York. NFL Today update with JB and Phil Simms.
Trubisky's leg.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson's not the only quarterback can move around. How about this? Goes to his right, reverses field, and looks to throw it. Nobody there. New England not fast enough to catch him. 8-yard touchdown run by Mitch Trubisky. Chicago 10, New England 7. Back to Andrew in the fast. James Lofton, of course.
I didn't get any adjectives to describe me.
Well, there's no adjective great enough to describe you, Andrew.
We have an injury on the field for Jacksonville, and we'll be back in a moment. Tyler Patman, the injured Jaguar, about to go into the blue medical tent. He is their nickel cornerback as you take a look at the replay, number 23. And took a shot from his own teammate, Calais Campbell. So now some shuffling in the Jacksonville secondary. Ronnie Harrison has come in, the young safety out of Alabama. It's 3rd down and 8. Houston 3 for 5 on 3rd down so far. Watson steps up to avoid the rush, keeps it, dives, but he's short. Did not get there for a 1st down. And now it's 4th down. And Bill O'Brien is sending out Trevor Daniel, his punter.
And in the zone coverage when he breaks, he has 2 defenders, Miles Jack, Telvin Smith. Looks at both those guys and says, maybe time to give myself up here and not take the punishment.
Jaguars lost Jadon Mickens to an ankle injury last week, so the first crack at returning punts today goes to D.D. Westbrook. They also signed Rashad Green when they put Mickens on IR. And Westbrook calls for a fair catch at the 10-yard line. 43-yard punt for Daniel.
If you are Jacksonville, yes, you'd like to score points. Yes, you want to get touchdowns, but you have to now kind of get the tilt of the field back. Second possession that they've been backed up a little bit, haven't been able to move the ball, and you are giving Houston the chance to score touchdowns because of their great field position that they get.
See Andre Howe, what an incredible story. He started the game today, his first game of the season, diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma in May. Doctors declared him cancer-free last month and playing in his first game of the year as Bortles completes that pass. Reeled in by DJ Chark for a gain of 15. We met with Bill O'Brien last night, and the first thing he said in his production meeting was, guys, this is going to be pretty cool what I'm about to tell you, but Andre Howe is going to play tomorrow, meaning today. They activated his practice window. They had a 21-day window to allow him to practice before they had to make a decision on putting him on the roster. So he didn't start practicing until this week. You figure maybe he'll get a couple of weeks, but no, they need him with Sharice Wright out today and the former Jaguar Aaron Colvin continuing to be sidelined. They needed some depth in the secondary, and Howe has been providing that early in this game. Second down and 5 for the Jaguars, who now in their last 2+ games have been outscored 50-0 in the first half.
You know, we talked about the Jaguars trying to find that identity. Well, you still want to be that power running team. You bring in an extra offensive lineman, a fullback, you can try and run the football.
Here's TJ Yeldon, and Clowney getting back there quickly.
Clowney at the top, Watt at the bottom. Guys who look at the offensive set, you've brought in that extra tackle, you bring in a fullback. We're up in the front 7, we think you're going to run the ball. So we're going to play the run, we're going to try and penetrate. That's exactly what they did. Now, obviously, the Jacksonville Jaguars have a play-action pass off of that. But when you're having a hard time blocking any type of pass plays, you're worried about it. Jamal Charles in now. Great speed, get him out in space.
Jags are 1 for 4 on 3rd down. It's 3rd and 5. Bortles, it's complete right near the sticks, but it appears to maybe be a half-yard shy. It's Chark again on the reception, Joseph and McKinney on the tackle. And we'll have to see where they spot this, but they are saying right now it's 4th down.
And I think it's a good spot. I know it's just a little bit short, and you can hear the fans kind of hemming and hawing a little bit. They would love for the Jacksonville Jaguars to kind of go for this.
But they're on their own 35-yard line. Doug Marrone sends out the punter Cook on 4th and 1. It's a bad punt. Way short off the side of his foot. Out of bounds at the 35-yard line. And slow to get up is Donald Payne.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Walmart. Discover more ways to shop at Walmart today. United States Air Force. Experience more at airforce.com. And by AT&T. More for your thing. That's our thing.
A view of the Main Street Bridge that sits over the St. Johns River here in Jacksonville. 10:26 to go first half. 6-0 Texans, but an injury update for Houston. Kiki Kuti has a hamstring injury, and his return is questionable. Texans have good field position after a 26-yard punt by Logan Cook. Meanwhile, you saw Donald Payne shaken up after that last punt. He just went into the blue medical tent for the Jaguars as Watson connects with DeAndre Hopkins. Malik Jackson applying the pressure on Watson, but a 9-yard gain for Hopkins.
Another good matchup, being physical with the defensive back, kind of a little bit of hand fighting. Jalen Ramsey's, he's not going to complain to the official all day long, but he's probably talking to him a little bit that, you know, his arms are extended. He's pushing off of me as he's trying to come out of these breaks.
2nd and 1, Lamar Miller has the first down, and Miller still going to the 40-yard line, a gain of 11. Let's go back to that last throw. Watson, we told you he was hit by Malik Jackson, and hey, do a little push-ups, get a little workout in.
Oh, you know, a little wrinkle that the Texans used on the last play. They had Tyler Irvin in, who's a running back, smallish running back. He might be the replacement for QT in that slot position.
Only other wide receiver they have is Sammy Coates. Vincent Smith is inactive today. Watson nowhere to go. And Watson to the 40 with a flag down in the secondary. The flag is at the 26-yard line. With 9:18 to go second quarter, here's Ron Torbert.
Holding. Defense, number 20. 5-yard penalty from the end of the run. Automatic first down.
That's on Jalen Ramsey.
Now, see, just throwing him to the ground, I mean, there's not much he can do because DeAndre Hopkins came off and tried to swat his hands away, lost his balance. So I'm on Ramsey's side on that last call.
A rare time you'll hear James go against the wide receiver.
He was a college long jumper like I was.
1st and 10. It is Miller. And Lamar Miller off to a nice start in this game. Telvin Smith makes the tackle, but 6 more yards for Lamar Miller. Last week he rushed for 46 yards against the Bills. Today he already has 54 yards rushing.
And we've talked about all the pressure that's been on Watson as a passer. Well, when you're trying to run the ball, these same guys are trying to do the run blocking. And if they're not stout in the protection game, they're probably not as stout in the run game. So it's been a chore to gain yardage behind this team. Nice run on first down there.
Back to Miller. Miller is taken down by Telvin Smith. 3-yard pickup for Miller makes it 3rd and short. Focus for the Jaguars this week, get back to basics, as we mentioned off the top. Play fundamental football. Don't try to do too much. That's exactly the message that Doug Marrone sent to his team, and he's hoping the defense comes up big here on 3rd and 1.
See, now the officials should have been over the ball because Houston substituted late. Conversely, Jacksonville had to run on a man late.
Miller pitch left, and Miller has the first down. Chased out by Jalen Ramsey, but the Texans continue to feed Lamar Miller.
And a great all or nothing play. You fake it to Blue as the fullback, who's actually your extra halfback, and you toss it wide, and either they're going to bite down and be overly aggressive, like they were, or that play is going to get stuffed for no gain.
Strange stat, but coming into the game, the Texans were just 3 for 8 on 3rd and 1 this year. 37%, the worst in the NFL, but today they're 2 for 2. It's Alfred Blue up the middle in the red zone for the Texans. Miles Jack on the tackle, and let's see how Bill O'Brien operates his offense in the red zone. It's been a big topic throughout the season, something we talked about earlier, and they're back in there now with inside 7 minutes to go.
And coaching staffs do what we call self-scout, where they look at everything they've done, they look at the execution, they look at the play call, the personnel. So they've done this until they can't think about it anymore. And
Jaguars indicating somebody jumped on the Houston side.
False start. Offense number 83. 5-yard penalty. Second down.
And it's called on the rookie Jordan Thomas, and that's been a big problem in the red zone. Negative plays and penalties. It seems to happen every week for the Texans. Too many negative plays in the red zone is what Bill O'Brien has told us. And another one right there, backing them up to the 21.
As I mentioned, Kiki Cutie is out of the game. Number 21, Tyler Irvin, is coming in as that kind of slot back. There he is. He's a running back, but he's more of a slot size type of person.
Play clock's at 2. Watson doesn't get it off. And another penalty down by the red zone.
And Bill O'Brien is saying that he called timeout in advance of the penalty flag being tossed.
Prior to the snap.
Wow.
Houston calls its first charge timeout of the half.
So O'Brien was able to get that timeout in, and they avoid the delay of game. First timeout this half for the Texans. Coming up, Verizon Halftime Report. JB, Phil, Boomer, and Coach Cower back in New York. All the latest NFL scores and highlights coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report. What'd you make of the decision by the Titans to go for 2?
Well, I always like decisions, but what it boils down to is the execution of the play. But a little bit about that play. Being on the 1-yard line, you don't have a lot of options and a lot of space to throw the ball if they take away the number 1 read, because you're trying to hit that quick slant. Wasn't really there, and there was really nowhere else to go with the ball. Looking back at it in hindsight, might as well kick the PAT and have some more tea time over in London.
But a big loss there in this division for Tennessee, as we mentioned, sets the stage for the winner of this game to take over sole possession of first place in the AFC South. All right, out of the timeout, 2nd down and 8. Lamar Miller lined up at the bottom of your screen. Watson's looking left, throws left, and it is complete to Fuller. And Will Fuller sets up Houston with 1st and goal. A 15-yard gain for number 15.
It's pretty hard to say that a receiver drafted in the 1st round is kind of underrated, maybe underappreciated a little bit, because DeAndre Hopkins is so great. You look over at Will Fuller, and he scores a lot of touchdowns. He's really fast, but he's a good route runner, and that run after the catch there was spectacular.
1st and goal. Watson to the end zone, and it is almost intercepted. Golden opportunity, and Tashawn Gibson could not bring it in.
You've been around me long enough to know that I like dessert. There was a little bit too much icing on that cake there. You had 2 crossing fakes in the backfield. You had a wide receiver who's delaying off the line of scrimmage. And then you have a jump pass from the quarterback. All of that, if I'm playing safety, I'm following the quarterback's eyes. I realize he still has the ball, and I go straight to the ball. Just didn't make the play for Gibson.
On 2nd and goal, Miller up the middle, and he takes it in for the touchdown. What a drive for Lamar Miller, and he caps it off with his first rushing touchdown of the season. Miller had gone 10 straight games without a rushing touchdown.
And that's just a force. You knock guys back off the ball. Aubrey Jones, number 95, at 6'4", 320 pounds. He looked like he was on roller skates moving back. So the double team right at the point of attack, you take that guy and you walk him back into the linebackers, and there's no defender there.
10 plays, 60 yards, and now Fairbairn for the extra point. And it's 13-0 in favor of Houston. A red zone touchdown for the Texans. It belongs to Lamar Miller. And early in this one, it's all Houston. 11 carries, 66 yards, and a touchdown for Lamar Miller. He's given Houston a 13-0 lead. A couple of injury updates from the Jacksonville sideline. Donald Payne questionable to return with a knee injury, and Tyler Patman continues to be evaluated for a concussion. 5:31 to go, first half. Fairbairn kicking away to Chark. And this one is returnable, but Chark drops it. And Chark in a lot of trouble. Inside the 5, cannot get away. A.J. Moore making the tackle on special teams. Brennan Scarlett also down there, and the boos continue to reign here in Jacksonville.
Chark has to realize that the momentum of this ball, even when it bounces off of his knee, if it's in the end zone, he can stay in the end zone.
So Jacksonville will start this drive at their own 5-yard line. And how about this? Last 3 games, they've been outscored 57-0 in the first half.
You know, normally I would say, well, those games are in the past, but they are feeling that pressure now because they look around that huddle and you look like, who's going to make a play? There's nobody stepping up saying, I will.
Bortles calling out signals at the line with the play clock at 4. Bortles from his own end zone. Pressure coming, and it's incomplete. Clowney was coming hard at Blake Bortles, and he just got rid of it.
Clowney can be such a disruptive force. You put him on the line. You have tight ends that are supposed to block him. You have tackles that are supposed to block him. He has that first step quickness that once he gets an inch past the defender, he's right on to the quarterback and right in his face. Blake Bortles, everything he could just to get rid of that ball and find an eligible receiver to aim it at.
On 2nd and 10. Bortles, he's going to keep it, and Bortles across the 10 and dives up ahead right near the chains. Back to New York, NFL Today update with JP and Phil Simms.
A New England turnover leads to this.
Yeah, Jordan Howard, 2-yard touchdown run. It comes off a Sony Michel fumble, puts the Bears up 17-7 over the New England Patriots. Back to the handsome Andrew Catalon and the slick James Lofton. There we go.
That's a great adjective, Phil.
He has not seen you lately.
I'll put the check in the mail, Phil. Thank you. That was a first down run for Bortles. And he goes here to Dante Moncrief trying to get to the outside. Gets away from 2 tacklers and out of bounds. Great job after the catch by Moncrief. And it's a gain of 9.
Little momentum is building. You started this drive huddling up in your own end zone. Now you're getting out into the 25. You got a very manageable 2nd and 1. I wouldn't be surprised to just get a solid run call here so that you can pick up the first down, that you can catch your breath a little bit as you wind down the first half.
Bortles is 5 of 8 for 55 yards. 2 of those incompletions were Keelan Cole drops. It's a play fake. Bortles throwing on the run, and it's incomplete. He was looking for Keelan Cole. Jonathan Joseph had the coverage. And now 3rd down and 1, inside 4 minutes to go. It was Benardrick McKinney applying pressure to Bortles.
When you watch Jacksonville play, you know that they like short crossing routes on 3rd downs, and you like the deeper crossing routes when you run your play action passes. I know that, and I'll tell you, Jonathan Joseph, we spoke to him last week, and he talked about being a coach on the field and the big play in the 4th quarter last week. He coached that play up really well.
On 3rd and 1, Bortles keeps it himself for the first down.
See, Andrew, I think you could have used that play on 2nd down, saved your play action shot play that you just ran on 2nd down.
Interesting.
And didn't have time to throw it. So just pick up the first down, because this is an offense, like we said, they don't really have an identity because of all the players that they've lost, and they have to walk before they can run or walk before they can really throw deep.
Dave Williams in at running back. Bortles will throw. Bortles will keep it again, and he's hit hard. That time it was Christian Covington making the tackle after a gain of 2.
I never had a spin move. And maybe this is why right here, because when you spin, you don't know what's coming at you from the other direction. So Blake Bortles, a lot of courage, but remember, you're the quarterback, you're the starter. You have to protect yourself once you get down the field, once you've picked up sufficient yardage.
Saw J.J. Watt on the sideline getting a breather right here on 2nd and 8. T.J. Yeldon running right, and Yeldon is stacked up. Let's go back to New York. Another NFL Today update with J.B. and the striking Phil Simms.
Well, the Patriots answer right back.
That's the first ever. After the score by Chicago, how about this? Cordero Patterson, 95 yards. James Lofton's speed goes down there and then puts the lead up, or cuts Chicago's lead to 17-14.
Well, after Andrew complimented you, he couldn't go back and say back to Andy and Jimmy.
That was my speed when he was walking the last 5 yards.
J.J. Watt back in there on 3rd down and 6. Watt is coming. Bortles gets away. Bortles will run it again, and Bortles has another first down. J.J. Watt nearly had his 8th sack of the year. Instead, it's a 9-yard run for Blake Bortles. We've hit the 2-minute warning in Jacksonville. Bortles keeping the drive alive here late in the first half.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Lowe's. And by Red Dead Redemption 2, out October 26 for PS4, rated mature.
There's Tuco the Jaguar on the prowl over at the Jacksonville Zoo. Blake Bortles has 26 yards rushing in this game. And now we'll see what they can do with 2 minutes to go and 2 timeouts here in the first half. Bortles hit as he throws incomplete. It was J.J. Watt getting back there and applying the pressure. We met with J.J. Watt last night, and he said he was going to take a nap before dinner because he wanted to be able to stay up a little bit later to watch his Milwaukee Brewers play last night in Game 7 of the NLCS. Didn't go so well for J.J. Watt as the Dodgers advance to the World Series against Bill O'Brien's Boston Red Sox.
I saw him on the field before the game, so he turned it off at 10:45.
He said his deadline was 11. Bortles has time and completes it to the tight end, David Greenidge. Now it's 3rd down. So the Jaguars shut out in back-to-back first halves for the first time since 2001. They have never been shut out in 3 straight first halves. They're 2 for 2 on 3rd down this drive. They're faced with 3rd and 4. Less than 90 seconds to go. Bortles hit again as he releases, and it's incomplete. So that Texans pressure in the face of Blake Bortles. Whitney merciless this time getting back there, and it's another punt for Jacksonville.
Great coverage on the back end because Bortles had a chance. He looks right, comes back to the left, and then he just gets smacked by Whitney Merciless. And a nice job by Whitney Merciless in taking his helmet kind of off of the line of Blake Bortles and going after that right arm.
4th punt of the half for Cook, and for the 2nd time he's got a touchback. 1:11 to go. We'll be back in 30 seconds after this from Lowe's. Jaguars down 13-0, and Bill O'Brien has his offense back out on the field with 2 timeouts to go. In his career with the Texans, Bill O'Brien is 24-1 when leading at halftime, including 3-0 this year. Watson out of the shotgun, and they're going to run it on 1st down to Lamar Miller, and Miller up to the 28-yard line.
You know, a little bit of the 2-minute drill is how you feel about your offense, but there's also kind of a go zone that once you get there, you realize, okay, we really have a chance to score. Now you're trying to eliminate a turnover, being a little more conservative, taking a little more time. But if you get out to the 40-yard line, you're going to be a lot more aggressive than you are against your own 20. And remember, this is still a very good defensive front.
Houston does get the ball to start the 2nd half and then continue to play it conservatively here with Lamar Miller to the 30. And it looks like both O'Brien and Marone are content with going into the locker room. Don't forget, coming up, Verizon halftime report with our guys back in New York. We'll have scores and highlights from Week 7 around the NFL. And now Jacksonville has called the timeout with 9 seconds to go. Will be 30 seconds after this from Geico. We are actually still here. Did not go away for commercial.
Yeah, we didn't know that they were going to call timeout, which surprised everybody in the stands. There was more moaning from the home team, but it's kind of the right call, because if you can force them to punt and you can go after the punter on that fourth down, a chance to block it, and then even if you were to run into or rough the punter, time is really expired and they don't really have a shot at the end zone.
They do run it on 3rd down and 1 with Blue, and he's got the first down. And now we've hit the end of the first half. Texans lead 13-0. They get the ball to start the second half, and a lot of boos here in Jacksonville. 3rd straight first half they've been shut out. Halftime is next after these first half highlights from Verizon and a word from your local station. Booth with the Hall of Famer James Lofton. I'm Andrew Catalan. Jaguars had 5 first half possessions, 4 punts, and a lost fumble. How did they get this going on offense?
And that's the question that they've asked for the last 3 ball games.
Sure.
How do they get it going? Blake Bortles is the short answer, but the long answer, all the injuries that they've had. They really do need some playmakers to step forward and do some things to help out the quarterback.
And that first half was all Texans doing it defensively, but then also Lamar Miller was a nice little spark for Houston as well.
Lamar Miller's a spark. DeAndre Hopkins is always there. We've seen a big play out of Will Fuller. So their passing game has given them just enough. They're going up against 2 tough defenses today, but so far the team that has not made mistakes has been able to put points on the scoreboard. We've seen drop passes, we've seen fumbles from the Jacksonville Jaguars, and that has put them in their halftime hole.
Deshaun Watson, 7 of 11 for 80 yards passing, and his offense will be on the field first as Josh Lambo kicks it away to Tyler Ervin. It is a touchback. Gives us a chance to take a look at the first half numbers. And you see the rushing yards for the Texans, 75 of those 102 from Lamar Miller. He's gotten 22 straight games since his last 100-yard game. So Lamar Miller 25 away from triple digits, and we mentioned this before, shutout for the 3rd straight first half, those Jacksonville Jaguars. Injury update, Kiki QT now downgraded to out for the rest of the game with a hamstring injury. Tyler Patman, a neck strain, he is out, and Payne remains questionable to return with a knee injury, and Lamar Miller on first down is losing yards. Ngakoue, one of the first to get back there, along with Ronnie Harrison.
So you talk about how do you get Jacksonville's offense going, and the first part of that equation is for the defense to get a stop here, because Doug Marone probably, I would think, might have raised his voice a little bit at halftime in the locker room when he addressed the entire team. And it does start with the defense of the Jacksonville Jaguars getting the job done.
Watson and an incomplete. Hopkins and Ramsey were all over each other, and there's the flag. I mean, those 2 guys were hugging each other down the sideline.
Pass interference.
And we're getting a little conversation here, because there are 3 calls that can be made. The call that's made before the ball is thrown is illegal contact. Then after that, it's either holding when the ball is in the air or pass interference when the ball is in the air.
There is no foul on the play for pass interference. It's an incomplete pass.
So Ramsey wins that argument. Pleaded his case and no call.
And the funny thing about Ramsey, we've talked about him before. You see his mouthpiece dangling? He never puts the mouthpiece in. because he likes to be able to express himself while he's playing.
Yeah, we asked DeAndre Hopkins last night, how much talking is there between you two? He goes, not that much. He said he respects me, I respect him, but I'm sure a few words are shared throughout the course of the game. So now, without the penalty, it's 3rd down and 12. Watson with time, throws wide open, and it's a first down for the Texans. Tyler Ervin, who, as you pointed out, lining up in the slot in the absence of Kiki Cutesy. That's a 19-yard gain.
And it's funny, I remember Tyler Ervin when he was at San Jose State University. He was an all-around, do-it-all running back, a great guy in terms of punt return and kick returns. You see the matchup on the backside, but that Tyler Ervin and Patman went out. He was the guy who was going to cover Cutesy, so now they've got to get a different coverage guy for the slot.
Lamar Miller hit by A.J. Boye, and then Miles Jack finishes him off. But a big play on 3rd down for the Texans keeps this drive alive.
And I think the great thing about Tyler Ervin stepping in, because he's changing rooms. He normally sits in the running back room, and maybe they leave the door open across the hallway where the wide receivers are meeting, and they say, okay, you sit in the back and peek in their room, but it takes a player who is really, really smart to be able to do both.
Watson, pressure's coming from Darius. Watson launches deep on the run, and it's incomplete. It was Fuller who was down there, but Marcel Darius was the man who forced Watson to throw that one.
And Fuller is going to need somebody to step in for him on the next play. So because he's really winded, got to jog all the way back. He was 75 yards away from where it was completed. And look at the play clock, down to 18 seconds by the time he got back to the huddle.
Yeah, he just got to the huddle,
yeah.
And he still looks winded.
I would have been tapping the top of my helmet at that point.
Only problem is the only other receiver they have is Sammy Coates.
Well, he has the uniform on, so you shouldn't be afraid to play him.
1 on the play clock. Watson not aware of it, and a flag is down. He did not get it off in time.
That's, you know, if
it's exactly what you were talking about.
Send in the next guy.
Offense. 5-yard penalty. It's 3rd down.
Fuller did not get back to the huddle until there was 17 seconds on the play clock. And by the time they called the play and they lined up,
13:05, please.
a 5-yard penalty. 25th pre-snap penalty on the Texans, the most in the NFL. And now 3rd down and 9. Now the Jaguars have the 5th best 3rd down defense. But today, the Texans have converted 6 of 9 on 3rd down. Can they do it again? Watson in trouble. Watson gets rid of it, incomplete. Lamar Miller was over there, but Watson felt the pressure, and the Jacksonville defense steps up to start this second half.
There is a little bit of a no-throw kind of thing when you're looking at Jalen Robinson. You look at how physical Hopkins has to be at the top of the route to really swat his hands away to get away from, because he said everything against Jalen Ramsey is going to be contested.
Only the second punt for Trevor Daniel. Dede Westbrook back deep for Jacksonville. Good punt from Daniel. Might be too good. Will go in the end zone. Down there is Moore, and he downs it at the 1. A.J. Moore, the rookie out of Mississippi, with a big play on special teams. And once again, Jacksonville will be backed up to start this drive. 13-0 Texans in front. First half possessions for Jacksonville, not pretty offensively. Lost a fumble on their first drive. Since then, they've punted 4 times. Their average starting field position today has been their own 15-yard line. And they'll start this drive at the 1.
Yeah, they'd much rather take that average, the 15-yard line right here. Great job getting down under that punt, not stepping into the end zone, and all the little things that have been done right by the Houston Texans are starting to stack up.
On first down, Yeldon maybe gets a yard. The Jaguars have never had a 99-yard scoring drive for a touchdown in franchise history.
You could hear on that snap down there, you could hear Blake Bortles' voice inflection, because one of the things that you want to do as an offense, you want to go on a hard count, on 2 or 3, because if your guys move, you lose half a yard. if the Texans come across the ball, you pick up an easy 5. So Blake tried to get him with voice inflection on first down there.
Back to Yeldon. Clowney rips him down from behind. This Texans defense so tough against the run coming into the game, only allowing 95 yards rushing per game, 10th best in the NFL.
One of the things that you have to be really careful about as a passer, you're back in the pocket, moving in the pocket too much. And if you get called for holding while you're holding the ball in the pocket, that's a safety. So the Texans are looking at a possibility of 2 points. J.J. Watt in a wide alignment where he loves to be.
3rd and 7. Bortles from his own end zone. Matthew coming out of blitz. Bortles steps up and escapes. He lost the football again. Kareem Jackson scoops it up. Second lost fumble today by Blake Bortles. Zach Cunningham forced the fumble. Kareem Jackson recovers, and the Texans take over with great field position.
It starts with Romeo Cornell, the defensive coordinator, signaling to the Honey Badger, you come late on the blitz, you're going to be unblocked. You run right past the tight end who's been on the team for 2 weeks, doesn't know all the protections. And Blake Bortles just trying to do a little too much, because once you got out of the end zone, secure that ball and make sure you don't turn it over.
Kareem Jackson continues to have a great year for the Texans. We met with him last night. He's a free agent at the end of the season. This is his 9th year with Houston. He says, I hope I'm going to be here for a long time to come. Already 2 interceptions on the season for Jackson, and his fumble recovery gives the Texans a 1st and 10 from the Jacksonville 12-yard line. Lamar Miller taken down by Telvin Smith. Lamar Miller with 82 yards rushing, looking for his first 100-yard game since 2016. Texans, as we mentioned, have struggled in the red zone this year. They're down there right now, and they already do have a red zone touchdown. It was Miller with a touchdown run. 2nd and 8. Watson to Hopkins. He's got it. Touchdown! DeAndre Hopkins, his 4th touchdown of the season, and the Texans are piling it on here in Jacksonville. How about that pass, James Lofton?
And many times in this split there, you're expecting an outside release, so you're shaded a little bit outside. And DeAndre Hopkins, in our meeting with him yesterday, he said, Jalen Ramsey, yeah, he likes to shade the outside a little bit and use that safety help inside. Well, there was no safety help. Still got him to jump outside, cut inside of easy pitch and catch for the quarterback and his favorite wide receiver.
So here is Fairbairn for the extra point, and it has gone silent here in Jacksonville. A 20-0 Texans lead. Blake Bortles loses the football for the 2nd time today, and the Texans make him pay. Watson to Hopkins. It's 20-0.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Applebee's new neighborhood pastas. Eaten good in the neighborhood. Progressive Insurance, handing off big savings to you. And by Ford, built Ford proud.
$20-0 in favor of the Texans, and a very interesting development down on the Jacksonville sideline as Cody Kessler, the backup quarterback, has his helmet on, and Blake Bortles appears to be sent to watch. Have not heard if it's an injury or just a coach's decision. But yes, it's Cody Kessler coming out to quarterback the Jaguars. And the Jaguars have just confirmed this is a coach's decision. Bortles benched, Cody Kessler in to an ovation here in Jacksonville.
I'll tell you this about Doug Marrone. If he could have picked 11 entirely new starters on offense, he would. because this is not all on Blake Bortles. 2 fumbles on plays where he's trying to escape the pocket and pick up yardage, but it's been an entire disaster for the entire offense.
Kessler throwing on first down, and it's incomplete, looking for Moncrief.
It was dropped. Another drop.
Yeah. Kessler was acquired in a trade with Cleveland back in March. He was originally a 3rd-round pick by the Browns in 2016. Has started 8 games in his career. Only played in 3 ball games last year with the Browns. So, interesting development as Bortles has lost 2 fumbles today. The offense has gone in reverse for the entire afternoon, and Doug Marrone looking for a spark on 2nd and 10. J.J. Watt's coming. Kessler steps up. Kessler is chased out of bounds by Benardrick McKinney. A 2-yard pickup for Kessler on a day that's seen a lot of mistakes made by the Jaguars.
You know, this is an offense we knew coming in that was struggling to find an identity. But when you can't make the basic plays, and this play right here, that one on the kickoff where they ended up getting the ball at the 1-yard line or 5-yard line, he certainly could have stayed in the end zone. And it's knowing the rules, but being a young player in a situation that you're not normally in, tough situation. They get J.J. Watt to move off sides. You've got a new quarterback in. His cadence is a little different, so nice job by Kessler.
Zone infraction. Defense, number 99. 5-yard penalty. It's 3rd down.
Yep, Parnell moved. That was a smart play by the right tackle. And it turns 3rd and 8 into 3rd and 3. Kessler played collegiately at USC, trying to spark this Jacksonville offense. Kessler throws. It is caught by Westbrook, and he's got a 1st down. They needed 3. Westbrook gets 4, and Kessler and the Jags move the chains.
Kessler, nice job stepping up. There's pressure once again in the pocket. And you see Westbrook kind of looking out in front and going, this is zone. I'm supposed to sit right here. You throw me the ball on the proper shoulder. I turn upfield to that shoulder, pick up the 1st down.
Nathaniel Hackett, the offensive coordinator, said he was going to try everything today. I don't know if he envisioned this, as Yeldon is stuffed by McKinney on 1st down. We mentioned this earlier, but Hackett told us the most unique and challenging situation he has faced in his coaching career. With so many injuries on the offensive side of the ball, guys who've only been in the building for less than 10 days a week. Carlos Hyde has only been here 36 hours, not active today, but so many different curveballs, and they're trying to find something here offensively with Kessler. Play fake. Kessler. That's Jamal Charles, and he's ripped down by Cunningham. Zach Cunningham in his 2nd year at Vanderbilt continues to impress. Looked like Kessler nearly dropped that snap from Brandon Linder.
He did. You can see the double clutch there. When you are the backup quarterback, you work with the backup center, you run the other team's offense. So all week long, Cody Kessler has been Deshaun Watson practice and not getting a ton of practice time.
3rd down and 8. Kessler incomplete over the head of DJ Chark, and it will be another punt for Jacksonville.
J.J. Watt said in his dreams, he dreams about being single blocked. And you saw the running back going. He was going to punch him in the ribs, and then when he goes inside, there's the guard waiting for him. So in reality, if it's just a double team, that's even good in J.J. Watt's mind.
Here's Logan Cook with his 5th punt. Irvin drifting over, and it goes out of bounds inside the 5. A big break for Jacksonville. With 7:55 to go, it's a 55-yard punt for Cook. This past Tuesday, A.J. Boye and the Jags hosted 200 guests, including cancer survivors and their families, for a meal and a fun night filled with indoor playground activities. It was all part of the NFL and American Cancer Society's Crucial Catch Intercept Cancer campaign. Andre Howe whose cancer is in remission, making his season debut today. His offense out on the field with a 20-0 lead. Watson really lost that snap and is able to get some hands on it. And now second down. And Deshaun Watson, after that touchdown pass to Hopkins on the last drive, now tied for the second most touchdowns through a player's first 14 career games all time. Him and Marino with 32 touchdowns. Only Kurt Warner has had more.
You had Marino and the Marx brothers, and Kurt Warner and the greatest show on turf, Deshaun Watson. He came in like a storm last year.
Play fake. Watson. And incomplete. Looked like Will Fuller slipped a little bit. A.J. Boye had the coverage, and now third down and 10.
And once again, the Jaguars defense kind of has them where they want. In a third down situation where if they can get the ball back, give their team a chance to get the ball around midfield, you've got a chance to kind of inch your way back into this ball game. But it really does, again, start with the defense here. Let's see if they can get a stop and get their offense back out on the field immediately.
It's third down and 10. Jaguars send 4. Watson, and it's incomplete. Was looking for DeAndre Hopkins, and the Jaguars defense forces a 3-and-out. Jalen Ramsey had the coverage on Hopkins, and Jacksonville will get the ball back with 7 minutes to go in the third quarter.
And I talked to Joe DeCamillis, the special teams coach, before the game, and it's windy today. So consequently, he has 2 punt returners back. He doesn't want this ball hitting the ground and rolling for 20 or 25 yards.
Chark and Westbrook back deep for Jacksonville. Trevor Daniel from his own end zone. Good snap. Daniel gets it away. This will be Westbrook backtracking to his own 32. Westbrook down the sideline, still going, and finally wrapped up in Houston territory. It was Brendan Scarlett who made the tackle, but Westbrook with a 22-yard return, and Cody Kessler coming back out.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans, America's largest mortgage lender, and by Pizza Hut, official pizza sponsor of the NFL.
Now the pool party's kind of quiet here in Jacksonville as the Jaguars have 6 first downs and 5 punts today. Kessler with his second series and completes it to the tight end Greenwich, who spins forward for a first down. You know, James, during the commercial we were talking, and you made a good point. Who does the backup throw to during practice? It's other backups, which are in there now. But the problem for Jacksonville, some of these backups haven't even been here long enough.
What, this Greenwich's 3rd week? You have Rashad Green out there who's been here a week and a half. So you're right. But a lot of these young players service the defense also. So he should have a little relationship with them.
They've got Dave Williams in at running back. Yet to have a touch in an NFL game. Kessler with pressure coming. Gets rid of it. Caught by Westbrook. And tackle immediately made by Justin Reed.
You know, it's interesting when you think about blitzing the backup quarterback. You're really giving him as clear a look down the field as he can get. One-on-one matchup, so if he has time to throw, which he did there, because Williams, you talked about, did a nice job picking up the blitzing secondary player. He had a chance to look down the field and see one-on-one matchups.
Second down and 5, Westbrook in motion. Here's the first NFL touch for Williams, and he gets a yard. Rookie out of Arkansas, 7th-round pick by the Broncos. He was signed off the Broncos practice squad a couple of weeks ago. Now it sets up third down and 3.
Obviously, you're in field goal range, but down 20-0. Would you consider this 4-down territory? And I'm pretty sure Doug Marrone and Nathaniel Hackett, the offensive coordinator, have had that discussion, and you'll see some of that result in this play right here.
Yeldon back in the game at running back. Quick pass. It is caught for a first down. Moncrief loses his helmet. Kareem Jackson on the tackle after an 8-yard gain.
And there's that little uncertainty playing with a new guy, because when Moncrief catches his ball, he should turn and run. But he kind of turns and he covers up because he's ready to get hit. He's not sure where the defender is. But if he were just to really turn and sprint up the field, he has a chance to really make something happen. But at least they picked up the first down. They got a chance to now eye up the red zone a little bit. You've got to be very mindful of where Clowney is on the end of the line, standing up.
Another quick pass. Sharp has it. And Sharp gets to the 16-yard line. Justin Reed was trying to rip it away. We're seeing at least some progress for the Jaguars on offense. I mean, this is the best they've looked this entire game on the offensive side of the football.
No, it started with the field position. You get the ball at or around midfield, you really believe that you can get on your tiptoes and see the end zone. So you have to believe that you can do something.
Inside 4 minutes to go in the third quarter. It's 2nd down and 5. Jaguars are in the red zone. Kessler pump fakes, not taking a shot, and it's incomplete. It was Keelan Cole, the intended target, but Kareem Jackson was right there. So Bortles with 6 completions, and already Kessler with 6 completions.
And tough for Blake Bortles, because what becomes your role? Do you want to sit down there with the offensive coordinator and listen to all the plays that are going in? He's standing way down on the other end. Now he's watching the plays. He knows what's going in because he has the earpiece on, but you can't be too big of a cheerleader when you've been benched.
3rd down and 5. Kessler, it is caught on the sideline, and a first down for Keelan Cole. And now under the direction of Cody Kessler, Jacksonville is 3 for 4 on 3rd downs.
Once again, man-to-man coverage. And when you do that, you are allowing the quarterback to take good, clean reads down the field because that pressure is not getting there. So hats off, kudos to the offensive line. They're doing a little bit better job holding up against this Texans defensive front.
It's 1st and goal from the 8. Kessler to Westbrook. And he makes the catch. That pass was a little late, a little too high. Joseph on the tackle. We talk about the pressure up front. Houston still without a sack today.
Yeah. You know, there's pressure, but remember, Bortles scrambled twice, fumbled twice, because that pressure that enveloped him and the inability to catch a couple of balls on 3rd down that were very catchable is another reason why Bortles is standing on the sideline.
Kessler 5 out of 6 on this drive. It's 2nd and goal. Good protection. Kessler has all day. Now moving left. Clowney's coming. Now Watt's coming, and Kessler doesn't like the sound of that and throws it away. First it's Clowney, then it's Watt, and it's let's just get rid of this one.
And the minute that you said he had all day, I think J.J. Watt heard that. And he said, no, he does not have all day, Andrew Catalan. And the coverage on the back end, you only rush 3. So even though you're playing zone, you want to latch onto those guys when they're in your zone area. And a nice job done by the Texans in that regard.
And you got to think 4-down territory here for the Jaguars, down by 20.
J.J. Watt on the end of the line, but there's also a running back over there to halt his progress.
3rd and goal. Kessler again on the move. Kessler at the 10, and Kessler throws. Yeldon caught it. Touchdown! What a play! There is a flag down. Did Kessler go over the line of scrimmage?
And remember, it is your entire body. So when this play will be reviewed, because you just put points on the scoreboard.
Illegal forward pass. Offense, number 6. The quarterback was beyond the line of scrimmage when he threw the pass. It's a 5-yard penalty from the spot of the foul, and a loss of down. It's 4th down.
If I'm Doug Marrone, I'm checking upstairs with my guys who are looking at it, making sure that Kessler is entirely across the line of scrimmage. And because we're playing here in Jacksonville, they're going to show that, and you're going to be able to see right down the line, if any part of his body is behind the line of scrimmage, it's a touchdown.
Doug Marrone just threw his challenge flag 12 yards at the referee. It's actually a really good toss. Marrone grew up in the Bronx, a big Yankees fan.
So that was a right field to third base throw.
That was a Luis Severino fastball.
Jacksonville has challenged the ruling on the field that the quarterback was beyond the line of scrimmage. We'll review the play.
This season, Marrone 1 for 2 on challenges.
You know, we're looking at the challenge and all that. Great play by Yeldon. Yeldon, who started chipping at the line of scrimmage, then goes out in the pattern, and he stumbles when he goes out in the pattern because he gets contacted, and then he goes up the field. But did Yeldon ever step out of bounds?
Continue to show it on the big scoreboard. We're going to take another look as well.
You saw Yeldon with the chip. Watch him get contacted right there, get tripped up a little bit. Now he raises his hand and he's right there, inbounds, 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 inbounds the entire time.
Got to make sure Yeldon completed the process of the catch as well.
Oh yeah,
I think he did.
Yeah. And he also survived Jonathan Joseph coming at his helmet there.
If this call is overturned, it would be the 4th receiving touchdown of the season for Yeldon, a running back. We're going to check in with our rules analyst, Gene Steratore, back in New York. And what do you see here, Gene?
They will overturn this to a legal forward pass and a touchdown. Mechanically, though, ball snapped inside the 7-yard line. The line of scrimmage officials, down judge, head linesman, at the snap, leave the original line of scrimmage and go immediately to the goal line. You'll see angles of that. So at that point, there are no officials covering the line of scrimmage. Their responsibility changes to the goal line right at the snap. So the official that throws the flag is not in his normal position at the original line, and that's why his angle is off, and he prematurely throws a flag thinking it's an illegal forward pass. But a lot of this has to do with the mechanics of officials inside the 7-yard line.
And Gene, it's any part of his body that's behind the line of scrimmage. Is that correct?
Most definitely. Yeah, his back foot could be at the line, and a forward
pass. After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field has changed. The quarterback's body and ball were not beyond the line of scrimmage when he threw the pass. It is a legal forward pass, with the result being a touchdown.
Cody Kessler has his first touchdown pass since November of 2016. We thank Gene Steratore, our rules analyst in New York, all over that play. And some life here in Jacksonville as the Jags are finally on the scoreboard. Josh Lambo out to attempt the extra point, a successful challenge for Doug Marrone. We have a flag down.
And they got a lot of guys out there in defense.
Is that too many?
Yeah. See, now this 12 men, you can now take half the distance to the goal line and possibly go for 2. Would that be something Doug Marrone would do? I don't think
12
so.
12 players in formation by the defense. Jacksonville is elected to take the 5-yard penalty from the 15-yard line and attempt a 1-point try.
Yeah. You move it up, but you could have also shrunk it down in a 2-point try.
That's Brad Seeley, the Texans special teams coach. His unit has done very well so far this year. But a penalty here will make it a shorter extra point for Lambo, who's 11 out of 11 this season on extra points. And this one is good. 20-7 is now our score. We'll be back in 30 seconds after this from Geico. (20-7) is our score as we go back to the touchdown. And Kessler, just as he took that hit from Cunningham, able to get rid of it. And then after the announcement that the call was overturned, Cody Kessler, yes, a spark that Jacksonville so desperately needed. Meanwhile, for TJ Yeldon, he's the first Jacksonville running back to ever have more than 3 receiving touchdowns in a season. That was his 4th receiving touchdown of the year. And now a 13-point game, still plenty of time to go as Lambeau is set to kick it away to Irvin. And a touchback for Lambeau. Saturday, it's the best game from the best conference when number 11 Florida takes on 8th-ranked Georgia. The game is right here in this building in Jacksonville. And then in prime time, number 4 Notre Dame takes on Navy for the 92nd consecutive year. The college football pregame shows have you covered beginning at 2:30 Eastern right here on CBS. You can see that auxiliary stands have already been set in place for the Georgia-Florida game here next Saturday on CBS. All right, the crowd making some noise. A 13-point game, and on first down, Lamar Miller doesn't get anything. Now, James, this Jacksonville defense, statistically, if you look at the numbers, is having a pretty good year. But they haven't made any big plays. Miles Jack,
they don't have the takeaways.
Yes, they don't have the takeaways. That's something they sorely missed this year compared to last year. This would be a good time for one if you're a Jaguars fan.
But you can't overplay it. The second guy in on the tackles, he's the guy who tried to punch the ball out. But before that, it's about do your job, make the tackles, get them off the field. Another 3 and out would be great for the Jaguars right here.
Watson out of the shotgun. Throws, and it's caught along the sideline there by Fuller. Boye had tight coverage, and it brings up 3rd down. A 5-yard gain for Will Fuller.
You saw pressure on that last down, trying to force Deshaun Watson to get the ball out of his hands, to get it out quickly, to make him throw a short throw. Make him throw that short throw. If they catch it, make the tackle immediately. No yards after the catch. They've got another chance here. The fans should have enough noise where they also, the defensive front, can get off and really get after the quarterback. Fowler, former number 1 pick, down at the bottom. Good pass rusher.
3rd down and 5. Watson. Scrambling. Watson throws, and it's caught by Fuller. And now the Jaguars are saying he was across the line of scrimmage, but no call, and it's a 1st down. So at the last minute, Watson's able to convert.
Watson's mobility is the big difference here. The lanes are good, but once he goes to the outside, there's a little combination between the 2 guys, and they end up falling in front of him.
Lamar Miller, and he can't get away from Telvin Smith. And that could be the final play of the 3rd quarter. So a big 3rd down conversion. Jaguars had some momentum. The crowd was really into it. But Watson's able to extend the drive and take a 13-point lead into the 4th quarter.
So much of what Jacksonville does is simple, but it's not easy to defeat because they have good personnel. They play it tight. They've got to continue to do what they do best in the 4th quarter to give themselves a chance to make a comeback.
Start of the 4th quarter in Jacksonville. Houston has a 20-7 lead with our producer Jason Ross, director Andy Goldberg, James Lofton, our entire crew. I'm Andrew Catalan. We thank you for joining us in a game that will determine who takes over sole possession of first place in the AFC South. We start the quarter with 2nd and 6. Lamar Miller across midfield and wrestled down by Malik Jackson. It'll bring up 3rd down and short. This year in the 4th quarter, the Jaguars have a scoring differential of -22. This is a team that got back to basics this week. They are frustrated with this 2-game losing streak. Doug Marrone, players that have felt like training camp at times this week. He's hoping it pays off today, and they got some work to do. Down by 13, and a big 3rd down and 2.
And you got to try and smother the receivers on their releases right at the line of scrimmage.
Watson now throws, incomplete. Was trying to squeeze it into Lamar Miller. Barry Church was over there. Good coverage downfield by the secondary.
One of the things that I noticed when I was on the field before the game is the direction of this punt and the punt returner. You are looking up into a very, very bright sun. So Westbrook may even have to shadow his eyes when he's trying to catch this punt.
Awaiting the kick from Trevor Daniel, and a fair catch for Westbrook. at the 16-yard line. Timeout on the field, 14:06 to go. Cody Kessler coming back out. On a beautiful day in Jacksonville, the Jaguars have a little momentum right now early in the fourth quarter, trailing by 13. The offense back out on the field. 1st and 10 from the 16 with Cody Kessler back at quarterback. Blake Bortles has been benched. Kessler throwing on 1st down, completing to Dante Moncrief. Justin Reed on the tackle. And how about that last drive that led to a touchdown for Jacksonville?
And Cody Kessler kept doing the little things. And by the little things, I mean, once they got to 3rd down, he got completions. He got the ball to the guy who was open. And so much of this ball game, Jacksonville just struggled to do things right on 3rd down. When Blake Bortles was in, they were knocking the ball down instead of catching it. The receivers were.
7 of 9 on that last drive, and the touchdown pass to Yeldon. Play fake. Pressure coming. Clowney got him. A sack for Jadeveon Clowney. The first sack of the day for the Houston defense.
When Clowney is floating in the middle before the snap, you know that you're kind of in trouble when you're the quarterback. He's moving around, he moves into location, and then just that quick movement. I talked about that quick first step. You see it, and once he gets on the quarterback, he's relentless.
Now 3.5 sacks on the year for Jadeveon Clowney. And a loss of 8 brings up 3rd down and 12. Pressure coming again. Kessler able to get past it. Kessler just tosses one up out of bounds and incomplete. It was McKinney and Merciless applying the pressure on Cody Kessler, and Doug Marrone will send out his punter Logan Cook.
J.J. Watt makes him step up into the pocket, and then, like you said, it's a group effort after that to track him down. 2 linebackers that they're using in the pass rush with the great defensive ends on the outside.
Cook awaiting the snap on his own goal line. Irvin from the 40. Hit hard. It was DJ Chark with the special teams tackle. A 47-yard punt.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Verizon, the best unlimited is on Verizon, America's most awarded network. And by Subway, make it what you want.
"16 years ago, the Texans got their first road win in franchise history here in Jacksonville against the Jaguars. And the head coach at the time for Jacksonville, Tom Coughlin, now the executive vice president of football operations, back with the Jags. 1st and 10 for the Texans, and it's Alfred Blue on 1st down. And Blue gets a couple of yards. Malik Jackson over there. And Calais Campbell was a little slow to get up. As we mentioned, he was a game-time decision and a lot of pain with a hip injury. Doug Marrone told us Friday wasn't sure if Campbell would be able to go. He's out there, but certainly playing through some pain. 2nd and 7. Blue tripped and taken down by Jack. Just a reminder, the winner of this game takes over sole possession of first place in the AFC South. Earlier today, Tennessee lost in London to the Chargers, a game you saw right here on CBS.
And with last year's success, you know, Jacksonville felt like they owned this division. And then coming in, being one of the preseason favorites that everybody's talking about with a chance to go to Super Bowl 53, now they're sitting there going, hey, this is slipping away a little bit on us.
3rd down and 6. Watson looking for Hopkins, incomplete, threw it behind him. Ramsey had good coverage, and a quick 3 and out forced by this Jacksonville defense.
And that incompletion on 3rd down also stops the clock, but really nice job. No space to kind of fit it in there. So Deshaun Watson, I believe, threw that ball away. Don't take a sack, get off the field, do all the little things that prevent you from sack, fumble in the pocket.
It's Westbrook going to let this one go, and it goes into the end zone. So a touchback by Trevor Daniel. 11:19 to go. You're watching the NFL on CBS, your home for Super Bowl 53. 20-7 in favor of the Texans. And don't forget, stay tuned for the NFL Today update delivered by Pizza Hut, time permitting. JB, Phil Boomer, and Coach Cowher, all the latest NFL scores and highlights. 1st and 10 from the 20-yard line. Cody Kessler remains the quarterback. Pressure is coming. Kessler doesn't see it. He lost the football. It was stripped loose by Whitney Merciless, and Jacksonville recovers. That's the first sack of the season for Merciless. And they are saying it's 2nd down.
Yeah, but by the time they unpile, you need to do a new clock against the play clock.
Josh Walker, the left tackle, comes up with the loose football. He was the one that got beat by Merciless.
And the tomahawk chop that Lawrence Taylor made famous years ago is still in full effect. When you get around that quarterback, you're going for the strip because you know you have enough power to take him down. And also in today's game, you don't want to violently take him to the ground.
2nd and long. Kessler to Yeldon. Yeldon, great move at the 15, and Yeldon, 2nd level with a late flag coming in. 2 flags down. How about the run after the catch by Yeldon, a gain of 20. Texans indicating this is against Jacksonville.
Holding. Offense, number 12. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. Replay 2nd down.
It's on D.D. Westbrook.
You can see D.D. looking up at the screen. And it's an effort level play. You realize that the run is broken behind you and you're trying to block, and that little tug right at the end going up against Reed. The safeties are so important on that back end. You know, we're watching them as they line up, because when they line up, they immediately say to the quarterback, no, you're not throwing the ball deep over the top. Just looking at the depth that they line up all the way back there on the back end. Can't get deep shots against those guys.
So now 2nd and 15. Kessler over the middle, and that one is caught. McKinney on the tackle. It's Rashad Green with his first catch in 2 years, since October of 2016. Re-signed this week after Jadon Mickens was put on IR.
Andrew, when you are forced to throw checkdowns, it's so hard to start a drive that starts in a negative down and distance. Not 1st and 10, but when they had the 2nd and extra long and you throw a check down, now the 3rd and 8, you've got to throw something beyond the sticks. You see everybody lined up right at the 30-yard line.
3rd and 7. Kessler to Yeldon. Yeldon at the 30. He's got the 1st down. A 9-yard pickup for T.J. Yeldon.
When you walk by the running back's room, you'll hear the running back coach say, dodge 1, split 2. And T.J. Yeldon catches this ball in traffic, does a good job in splitting the 2 guys right at the end of the play.
Yeldon has more yards receiving than he does rushing today. Kessler caught by Chark. And he's wrapped up by Jackson. I tell you, one guy who's been a non-factor today, James, is Keelan Cole. Had those 2 early drops. Yes. Cole only has 1 catch for 8 yards.
But what you have to do when you get in a little mini slump like that, continue to play. Continue to run hard. Continue to try and get open, because the next ball may be coming your way.
Cole at the bottom of your screen on 2nd and 2. Kessler is going to run it himself. He's got the 1st down. Spins up to the 46-yard line. A 6-yard gain for number 6.
One of the things that's I'm looking down at the front for the Houston Texans, a little bit of hands on the hips, which indicates you're trying to catch your breath. They've been on the field. Now hurry up at the line of scrimmage. What will the pass rush be? If it's not there, Kessler has some time in the pocket.
Inside 8 minutes to play. Kessler to Bohannon out of the backfield, and the fullback is tackled at midfield by Jackson. Tommy Bohannon actually practiced a little bit at tight end this week because Jacksonville is so short-handed with all the injuries. And Bohannon has his first catch today.
But a successful check down on first down. You keep moving forward, and that defensive line is not getting close to him.
Kessler to Westbrook, and that's another Jacksonville first down. Matthew on the stop, but it's 1st and 10.
Got 1st and 10. Nathaniel Hackett, will he take a chance on a double move? Something where you are anticipating that they're going to try and jump on you because they've jumped on the last couple of routes here.
Kessler to Keelan Cole. There he is, a 13-yard gain and another first down. Joseph had the coverage.
Jonathan Joseph all over his back, does a great job in coverage. Keelan Cole, the ball stuck in there, and he's trying to keep this ball off the ground as he's going down low. Jonathan Joseph is pointing at the ground. Looks like they're going to get the snap off.
6.5 to go. Clowney again. Second sack for Jadeveon Clowney. He was all over Cody Kessler.
Josh Walker, the left tackle, he has his hands full. Right there, watch him. He thought he might have had some help, but no, because you have a linebacker up there in the gap, so your running back, TJ Yeldon, has to go inside and get no help outside.
Loss of 6, it's 2nd and 16. Kessler fires and caught along the sideline by Moncrief. He gets 11, and it's 3rd down.
You are certainly now in 4-down territory because you're down by 13 points. So kicking a field goal, that's really not an option. But as a play caller, Nathaniel Hackett has to call something that gives you a chance on a super short 4th down call.
3rd and 6. And Yeldon lost it and picked off by Matthew. Off the hands of TJ Yeldon, right to Tyrann Mathieu. His 2nd interception of the season. And that drive, which looks so promising, comes to a crashing end. That's the 4th drop today by the Jaguars.
Andrew, it's almost a fatigue drop. TJ Yeldon, who had made so many plays, he's crossing. He kind of stops a little bit short because the ball's thrown out in front of him. And I think he just wanted the quarterback to lay the ball right on him so he could have a chance to run up the field, not be extended. But that zone coverage right behind you, making you throw short up front, paid dividends on that last play.
13th career interception for the Honey Badger, his 2nd as a Texan. And the Houston offense returns to the field at the 26-yard line. Watson looking to throw on 1st down. And it is incomplete along the sideline.
Good coverage. Do your job on the bootleg. If you're Jalen Ramsey, your job man-to-man is to cover DeAndre Hopkins. You do that. Everybody else has their job done. Force an incomplete pass. You also stop the clock. Now you've got to gaze up at the clock and realize the Jacksonville Jaguars still have 3 timeouts. Everything is still in play. You get a successful stop here on 2nd down, 3rd down, make them punt it. Still got time to get your 2 scores.
Here's Lamar Miller. Needs 10 yards for 100, and he only gets 1.
And we use the first of those 3 timeouts.
Timeout called by Doug Marrone, stopping the clock with 5:19 to go. Houston only has 68 yards of offense in the 2nd half. The Jacksonville defense has certainly come to play since halftime. And they'll be faced with 3rd and 10 coming up. Well, coming up next, most of you will see an intense NFC East battle when Dallas takes on Washington. Others will see an NFC West showdown with the NFL's lone undefeated team, the Rams, as they battle the 49ers. That's next, right here on CBS. 1993, the last time all 4 of these NFC teams appeared on CBS. And how about the bottom note? You spent a part of 93 with the Rams.
Jerome Bettis and I were teammates, and I actually threw a block for him once at practice.
I can't envision that. Doesn't really make much sense. Should be an exciting doubleheader. It feels like Murder, She Wrote should be on later tonight.
Definitely.
On 3rd and 10, Watson, and that one is caught, and it's going to be very close to a first down. And it is a first down. How about Will Fuller after the catch? A great job by Fuller, the third-year man out of Notre Dame.
Remember when I talked about him being a little undervalued, a little bit underappreciated? Because you would not have thought Will Fuller coming out of Ohio State, sub 4.4, guy in the 40, Notre Dame would run the ball that intensely straight up the field. Well, maybe if he went to Notre Dame, he would. If he went to Ohio State, not yesterday.
Yeah, big loss to Purdue. What a play, though. That would have got
That's a big-time play right there.
the offense off the field. Instead, it keeps the clock moving here. And Lamar Miller out to the 45-yard line. Barry Church on the tackle.
And you get timeout again from Jacksonville. And we're at that point of the game where you start to see sometimes those big gashing runs. Because defenders, they're shooting the gaps, they're trying to get after the quarterback, to get the running back in the backfield, and you get big plays of Lamar Miller inching toward 100 yards. I don't know if he already has it, but he's awfully close.
He needs 2 more, James. It's still a big day for Miller. 21 carries, 98 yards rushing, and a touchdown as well.
And it's kind of been a tone setter because they have been aggressive yards that at the end of the runs, he's going forward. He's not getting knocked backwards by what is normally a very, very tough and intimidating defense.
And there's some poor body language now on the Jacksonville sideline. Ngakoue being restrained by his teammate Jared Wilson. And that should be good for a Houston first down. And if it is, it would be 100 yards. How about this? Ngakoue.
It's hard to shut off the emotions just when you go from the middle of the field to the sideline, the intensity that's going on as you're battling the offensive lineman from the other. And you get pulled out the game, and you're wondering why am I getting taken off? I wasn't the only one who gave up 9 yards on that last run.
This is the concern with Jacksonville. There's a lot of big personalities on this team, especially defensively. They've gotten spanked the last 2 weeks by the Chiefs and the Cowboys. Come home, big game. They had intense practices all week. Players said it felt like training camp. They put a lot into this week for this game against a division rival, and it's a lot more of the same.
And you're hoping that you don't end up with a fractured team. The offense against the defense, the secondary against the D-line, the offensive line, saying, well, maybe we can't pass protect, but we should run the ball more. So you want everybody on the same front, and that's a tough assignment. That's why head coaches get paid the way they get paid.
Lamar Miller got 2 yards on that last play, so he does go to 100 now for the game as Alfred Blue had that carry. Lamar Miller had gone 22 straight games without a 100-yard rushing performance. That drought has ended. He's got 22 carries for exactly 100 yards.
And even in those 22 carries with so many running back duos around the NFL, very rarely do you get a running back who gets 22 carries on his own, because the team, if you take Alfred Blue, the second back, he's at 6 carries. So to not split it half and half or even 60-40 is kind of unusual in today's NFL.
It's Blue again. And Blue taken down in Jacksonville territory. Calais Campbell again. A little slow to get up. It's been a tough day for Campbell, playing through a painful hip injury. Jaguars do not have any timeouts remaining. And Campbell remains down on the ground.
And when Calais Campbell came here last year from Arizona, people kind of raised eyebrows a little bit. Veteran player coming in, what is he going to be able to do? Well, he kind of totally transformed this defense. Made them a unit, did some things with them before the season started, some team bonding, all of that. And, you know, he has this really deep voice. And so when he would talk, everybody would listen, and everyone followed his lead. And so, you know, you're still looking for that because you had so many stars emerge on this team, whether it's at the linebacker level with Miles Jack and Telvin Smith, then in the secondary with Jalen Ramsey and A.J. Boye. There's so many stars. Somebody, you're waiting for that person to step up, make plays, to make a difference defensively. But it's hard, and it really is hard when you don't have the corresponding offense to go along with it. And we chronicled all the offensive starters that are out and how much the game plan has changed from what they would like to do offensively.
3rd down and 3. Alfred Blue running back. Blue on the carry, and Blue is going to be short of a 1st down. Jacksonville cannot stop the clock. And Bill O'Brien is going to punt this football away. We've definitely seen the talking increase over the last quarter. I saw the previous play, DeAndre Hopkins was being held back by Deshaun Watson. And now Westbrook awaiting the punt with 2.5 minutes to play. Bill O'Brien's Texans have not won 4 games in a row in the same season since 2015, on the verge of going from 0-3 to 1st place in the AFC South. Westbrook with a fair catch at the 15. Let's take a trip down memory lane back to Super Bowl 39 between the Patriots and Eagles, the one and only Super Bowl hosted by Jacksonville. Romeo Crennel was here in his last season as New England's defensive coordinator. Mike Vrabel caught a touchdown pass from Tom Brady. And Deion Branch earned MVP honors. Patriots won 24-21. CBS, proud home of Super Bowl 53. This season, the game will be played February 3rd in Atlanta. And Romeo has to be happy with his Texans defense today, holding Jacksonville to just 7 points. Kessler on the run, and it's another drop by Keelan Cole, who's had one of his worst days as a pro.
When you start thinking about catching the ball, you're probably not going to catch it. It just has to be something that you do that's second nature. You don't think about, you know, you talk to a guy who's a really good golfer. I know a couple of them. I say, what do you think about when you're swinging? He said, I don't think about anything. And the same way, same thing has to be done by the receivers. They can't think about catching the ball.
5 drop passes today by Jacksonville. 2nd and 10. Moncrief is able to hold on to this one. And that takes us to the 2-minute warning. A 13-point game. Houston in front here on CBS.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Bud Light. Enjoyed by Giant Blue fictional nights everywhere. And by Domino's. Order online at Domino's.com.
Back in Jacksonville, the Jaguars don't return to this stadium until week 11 when they host Pittsburgh. Next week is a home game, but it's in London against the Eagles. And I wonder what Doug Marrone will do at quarterback, as benches Bortles today and Cody Kessler has come in. He completes this pass to TJ Yeldon to the 30-yard line. There's going to be a lot of questions about the Jaguars as they, after an impressive start to the season, are about to lose for the 4th time in the last 5 games. Matthew coming on a blitz, and he wraps up Kessler. First sack as a Texan for Tyrann Mathieu.
You know, when you start talking about Jacksonville's next move at quarterback, also, where do they go at running back? Is Leonard Fournette finally healthy when they cross the pond? Is Carlos Hyde in the mix? TJ Yeldon, we've seen him play well today.
Kessler to Moncrief, knocked out of bounds by Joseph. And don't forget, the trade deadline is coming up at the end of the month. Already saw Dave Caldwell, the general manager, be aggressive on Friday, acquiring Carlos Hyde from Cleveland. Will the Jaguars look at the quarterback market in a trade? Third down and 4. Kessler hit hard, and it's incomplete. And that was Clowney again. And Jacksonville will keep the offense on the field on 4th and 4.
When Clowney is in that move position where he's up in a 2-point stance and he's able to come and just do a little shake at the line of scrimmage, he almost always is able to pick the right gap, and that explosiveness that he has once he gets past his blocker, he ends up right in the lap of the quarterback.
Clowney has 7 tackles, 2 sacks, 4 hits. Big day for Jadeveon Clowney on 4th and 4. Kessler incomplete, looking for Chark, and that will do it. Big game for Tyrann Mathieu. Don't forget, coming up here on CBS, we'll have some bonus coverage of the Patriots and Bears. Right now, New England up 38-24 on Chicago. And the Houston Texans, after an 0-3 start, now will have sole possession of first place in the AFC South, going back home for a Thursday night game against the Miami Dolphins.
And in this 4-game winning stretch, this is the first of the 4 games that really was not a nail biter, down to the last possessions in the 4th quarter.
Yeah, their 3 wins coming into the day were by a combined 13 points. They're going to win this one by 13, as you see their upcoming schedule. Miami, that's a Thursday night game this week, and then at Denver before their bye.
And those are critical AFC games. You know, you're looking, every time you look at the East, you think about New England, but Miami's lurking in there with a winning record. A team that, if you're going to beat and get to the playoff race, you've got to beat them when you face them during the regular season.
Watson takes a knee, and that will do it. The Houston Texans win their 4th straight game. And as we update the AFC South standings, it's now one team at the top. The Texans at 4-3 after a 20-7 victory over the Jaguars. Both the Titans and Jaguars now a game back at 3-4. Final score, Houston 20, Jacksonville 7. For James Lofton and our entire crew, this is Andrew Catalan saying so long from Jacksonville. Let's go to James Brown in New York for the NFL Today update. It's delivered by Pizza Hut.